Welcome back to Building Together. My name is Colin, and this is episode 4 of What Makes This Lego Set Great. The year is 2008, and the set we are talking about is the Green Grocer. This is the second modular designed by Lego. They did, of course, have the Market Street that was fan designed in 2007. It's technically the second modular, but this is the second one designed by Lego, and it followed in the footsteps of the Cafe Corner. Now, we did an episode of What Makes This Lego Set Great for that set, link to it up there. This one was the first one to have an interior. So we have an evolution of the modulars going from the purely exterior-focused Cafe Corner to the Green Grocer, which is trying to strike a bit of a balance between the exterior and the interior. This set has a 4.6 rating out of 5 on Brickset, which of course allows it to qualify for this series. Now, in 2008, it came out for $150, but of course, you can't get it for that much anymore. If you wanted to get it used on Bricklink, you would probably be spending over $800. And if you wanted to get it brand new, over $1,400. So the markup on this set has been immense over the last 14 years. We're going to go ahead and dive into this. There are 3 instruction booklets, one for each level. Here's the instruction manual for the first floor. Here are my pieces. And I'll check back later as we delve into what makes this great. All right, so let's check in here. We are up through step 9, so we're beginning step 10, and this is always a great time to jump in because we've got the tiling of the floor. Now, again, this is the first modular that had an interior, and Jamie Berard, the set designer, outdid himself. You can see the intricate tile work on the ground floor here. You also see some nice tan and dark tan patterns throughout this walkway through this side of the Green Grocer. And you really get a feel for the detail that you can do in a Lego modular when you build this. You've got, again, the sidewalk out here, but notice a lot less of the dark gray than in the Cafe Corner. And in the Cafe Corner, where you might have a lot of tiling on the outside, intricate tiling, spelling the word cafe there by the tables, here, you're going to spend a lot of that time on the floor with this nice checkered pattern between the white, the black, and the dark red. It's got this nice medium blue trim along here, which is nice. And then sticking to one of the themes of modular buildings is including some relatively rare colors. At the time, dark green wasn't super popular, so using it as the foundation gives it a different look than the Cafe Corner and other sets that came out afterward. And you also have these dark tan 2x2 tiles, which were new in 2008. And it came in the town plan, also designed by Jamie Berard. And it also came in some Indiana Jones sets. But the number that you get here, I believe it's 16 of them, really gives you a good number of them compared to other sets that they came in. So we've got this foundation. You can start to see it's taking shape. We've got a really cool sloping off into the store, which I think is really well done. So we'll check back in a few more steps to talk a little bit more about the interior as it takes shape. All right, we are checking in now on step 26. We have built the interior of this, and I wanted to check in now because we're going to build the exterior. I'm going to talk some more about that later on, but check this out. This is fantastic stuff. We've got all the goods in the green grocer. We've got these two refrigerators over here with stocked with supplies, which I think is really neat. We've got a checkout register right here with more impulse buys right there. Looks like maybe some bubble gum and some other kind of things. Hard to tell. Maybe some chocolate. We've got some bins up here in the front with some vegetables, some fruit, and unpackaged croissants. I mean, I get what they're doing, but it's kind of interesting they're not in any sort of packaging. But we got some croissants. Then outside in the front, we've got some apples and some cherries, both red and green cherries. But the detail doesn't just stop there. We've got this mail center over here for people that are living in the upstairs apartment. Every single one of these mailboxes has an envelope in it. You even got a slot right here for some packages. Now, a couple of things to note about this set is that the door, not the frames, but the doors themselves, the 1x4x6 with the studs on them, brand new in 2008. So this is the first time we get that. And we've got two right here that are transparent for the freezers. We've got one here to the entrance for the stairwell. We also have one in the back here that leads out to the trash receptacles in the back. And then another thing I wanted to mention is the gray bricks. Look, this wall along the sides and outside of the first level are built out of gray bricks, and this set comes with almost 200 gray bricks. That doesn't include any sort of modified bricks. There's over 40 headlight bricks right here that we're going to start using some of those for the exterior here, but so many gray bricks and tiles. It's just phenomenal if you love dark or light gray, which of course I do. So really cool stuff. We've got the little stairway filled in right here for the entry, and we're going to be building out this jutted out entry in just a few moments, and I'm really excited to show you that. So you can definitely tell the level of detail here is vastly superior to what we see in the cafe corner. In fact, in an interview that I read with Jamie Berard, he noted that he basically busted the entire budget of the interior for the set on this first level. And if you compare the green grocer in the first level to that of the cafe corner, you'll notice that obviously the interior here is much more detailed, but there's about 300 or so more pieces in the green grocer than in the cafe corner, and for about $10 more. And so you get some of those pieces here on the interior. So for $10, you get a lot more detail, and I think it was well worth it as we've built out the interior. So I love what they do here. It's one of my favorite builds of all the modulars, and we've got some more coming, right? We got the exterior that we're going to be putting in here. We're going to have some bay windows up on the second and third levels on this side of the building. So keep watching because we'll break down every little detail that makes this set great. We have finished the first level of the green grocer, and I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about the details on the exterior that make this set great. Now, Jamie Berard designed this set, and you can tell that there's a lot of thought that goes into all of the intricacies of the exterior. I want to start by going over the very front main entrance. The main entrance to the green grocer is, of course, on the left side of the building, and he uses hinges to protrude the building or the door out from the main building, which gives it that nice sense of perspective. But he also adds a couple of windows here with an awning over it that I think adds another a bit of color amongst a lot of the gray of the ground level. He also includes these brown 1x4 tiles with like this Viking snakes print on it. Only came out in 5 sets, and then this was the last set that actually had those in there. He also puts this recurring theme of like a brick with a round circle, brick, circle, in 3 places here on the exterior on the far left and right, as well as kind of in the middle to give a little separation between the staircase and the mail part of the ground level and the grocery part of the main level. He also uses a technique very similar to that used in the cafe corner right here on the sides, which goes over kind of a little extended brick profile look using headlight bricks and tiles. One of the things that I think really makes the set great is the attention to detail over here. Notice how he uses sextant pieces for the lamps. He uses those by putting them into the wall with 1x1 Technic bricks. He also has 2 bluish gray 1x8 arches here. And a lot of people might just use 1 arch, but what he does is he actually uses it at a 1 stud offset at height difference, so that way you can see when you look in here from 1 arch to the other arch. So you get this nice sense of the archway being grander than just having a singular arch. Another element that makes this set great is you've got this beginning of the bay window coming out here at the end, at the very top of the first level. This is going to set the structural component for that bay window, and he does a really nice job of putting inverted slopes and slopes right here to kind of give you a nice feel and separation of that color. One thing that makes the Greengrocer great, and we'll talk more about this on other levels, is the way that Jamie uses plates to really provide, I think, a strong build structurally and in terms of the details. There are a couple of places within this front part right here where he uses plates. Now, a lot of times when I build, I'm always thinking of let's use bricks, more bricks, and not so much of reducing things to plates to allow you to get more detail and structural support. He does that really well. One place we can see that is right here with these cheese slopes. Now, underneath and behind there, he uses a lot of plates to kind of set the stage so that everything kind of fits together really nicely, and then uses these cheese slopes to add a little bit of detail on top of those plates to make sure that it kind of flows nicely and smoothly into the build. Now, the detail on the exterior isn't restricted to the front. There's also detail on the back. Now, the back of the cafe corner is very plain. So this is the first modular that really gets into elements of an exterior along the back side of the building. You'll notice that this walkway from the front that has those nice arches comes all the way out the back right here. We've got some lamps using some headlight bricks, which not super creative, but a nice little detail. But my favorite detail, perhaps, is on the back right here. This is on the opposite side of the refrigerated doors in the Greengrocer side, and you've got this ventilation right here. That is a detail that most people wouldn't think about when you're building a modular building. So he adds that very simply using 2 dark gray headlight bricks and this grill plate in metallic silver. Now, another thing that I want to point out is this little detail right here, the vines, or the ivy. Now, back in 2008, the 1x1 brick that was modified with the stud on one side, also known as a snot brick, wasn't being produced. And he decided that he wanted to put this ivy back there and used 1x1 bricks modified with studs on 2 sides, so on opposite sides of the brick. And why that matters is because you don't just put these bricks there unless you're trying to achieve something. And on the inside of the building, on the other side of the brick where it has those other studs, he just puts a tile, which indicates that he's intentionally putting this ivy on the back side of the wall, so that way you have some sort of decoration and some sort of detail on the back. So again, the attention to detail is vastly different from the cafe corner to the Greengrocer. Just one modular, you can see the progression going on here. Also on the back side, they have some waste disposals. They've got like a 1x4 black tile here. They've got some cheese slopes in here. and they have some utensils, a brush, a shovel, some hammer, or some axes or hatchets in here. And of course, you've got some detail above this doorway right here. So again, always thinking in finding ways to bring perspective. Finally, last thing I want to highlight as we wrap up this part of the build is notice the use of cheese slopes right here above the door. Again, it adds that level of perspective and the texture above the door that helps kind of pull you back in to the second level. Finally, we've got these tile tops on the first floor, and this is very different from a lot of other modulars. One of my favorite things about the Green Grocer is that you look at the way that you finish up the first level right here, and you've got these tiles on the sides and right here kind of in the middle raised up higher than the tiles that are right here, and you kind of wonder, how is the second level going to work? And Jamie does a fantastic job of doing that. Most of the modern modulars have a very flat, uniform tiled surface that has maybe a 1x4 plate modified with 2 studs, or maybe a 1x1 plate or something, maybe even jumper plates, like in the downtown diner, that allow you to separate the floors. But this one is irregular. It's different from a lot of the other ones, and I think it definitely warrants a shout out. The last thing, I know I said finally before, but the last thing I wanted to comment, and this is something we see in the police station modular, is the wall doesn't come all the way up to the top along the side of the staircase. This is one way to save space and budget on bricks, and so they kind of cap it off above the clock, so very much above the sight line if you're in the Grocer part. But if you were to climb up the stairs, you would have a point where you could actually look down into the Grocer, which probably is not all that realistic. But again, something that they did to save bricks here. It's a technique that they used also in the police stations. That's maybe one of my criticisms of the building so far. Even though it's maybe, even though it's a great set, there are some limitations that I think were done due to budgetary concerns. All right, so that wraps up the first level, and I'm really excited to get into the second and third level. So stick around, and we'll talk about some more details that make the set great. All right, we are 18 steps into the second level here, and I wanted to break in here because when you're dealing with interiors, you need to always be thinking ahead as you're building a set. It's one thing to create just a shell, maybe a 16 by 16 or 16 by 32 shell, and kind of fill it in, which is what you oftentimes will see in LEGO sets. For instance, the Friends modular, right, the Main Street set that came out, had basically like these 8x16 pods, and you would stick stuff in there on 2x2 jumper plates. But this level of interior adds detail that has to be incorporated at the very beginning of the level. So we're going to start by noting the fireplace over here on the left, right? You've got it built into the wall. You're going to be setting in the flames, you're going to be doing all this stuff before you even get to the end of the building, which means you have to incorporate it early. Same thing with what's going to be some curtains and some like a little balcony. So we have to set that up earlier. Notice that Jamie, the set designer, has some black 2x3 plates, basically a 3x6 area for the balcony that sets it apart from the rest. Notice that we're also continuing with this, brick, circle, brick motif throughout the second level as well. And we're getting some detail here with the bay window. Now, I think one of the things that really makes this set pop is the detail here in this in this bay window, right? Because notice that he uses this 4x4 plate that has a strip of 1x4 studs to set up the base, which means that the rest of it is smooth. So he uses hinges and so connects the hinges with the 1x4 brick with studs on all studs across the side in white right here. But this 4x4 modified plate sticks out a little bit. And so in order to kind of compensate for that, he continues that theme by having the 1x4 brick with studs, putting a tile on top to make it almost flush with where that plate juts out, and then uses door rails, 1x2 door rails in gray here, to continue that kind of theme. So it is just a little bit of detail that really makes the set in the bay window even better than it would be if we just didn't carry this theme all the way up. On the sides of it, we've got a similar element as we did with the door on the first level, which is the hinges, and then we've got some decor here using headlight bricks and the 1x2 tiles in white, and then door rails on top of that there. Now, another thing to take note as we develop the second level is we've got a stair railing right here. Now, there's one interior detail in the cafe corner. It's a railing. This is a little bit different and makes nice use of these gray goblets, and then you've got a 1x1 round stud with a circle and another 1x1 round stud on top, capped off by this 1x6 tile. Now, I want to also emphasize the fire escape. So this is something that we're going to be making use of when we add this to the next level. We're going to carry this down like this so that people can climb up, and then we've got a more incremental slope right there. But notice we use these bars and umbrella pieces with like droid arms and other ladder pieces to get this nice effect, and I think it looks fantastic and is very functional. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about one of the things that make modular sets great overall is their use of rare colors, or colors that at the time were rare. With Cafe Corner, it was of course dark red and using some of those slopes. Here it is the sand green. Now, sand green, I can imagine, would probably be a controversial color for LEGO to use. It wasn't something that was commonly used other than the Statue of Liberty. And if you think about it, looking at just a sand green brick, it's not a great color in terms of, you know, popping and brightness, and it's very muted. But when you add it to, you know, other colors and you combine it with tan and gray, it does kind of provide a little bit of contrast and looks fantastic. Now, this set makes use of only a certain number of sand green bricks. It's important to realize that as you design a LEGO set, you're going to be using different standards than if you or I creating a mock. Using a LEGO set, you want to minimize the number of unique pieces that you are using. So when it comes to the bricks, they use 1x1s, 1x3s, 1x4s, and 1x8s. There are no 1x6s or even 1x2 regular bricks. They use these 1x2 bricks that are modified with the garage door group. That's going to allow them to get some of the profile detail on the front that we'll talk about later, but it's also why they use them here, even in the fireplace, instead of regular 1x2 sand green bricks. One of the things that complicates this set for many collectors is the fact that it uses so many of these bricks, including over 50 of these 1x8 sand green bricks. These are extremely expensive and run multiple dollars on Bricklink for each brick, making this set almost cost prohibitive if you have to spend, I think it's like something like $5 or $6 per brick. 1x8 sand green brick times 50, you're looking at $250 or so in just sand green 1x8 bricks. And that doesn't even cover the rest of the pieces. So we know a lot of people, because of other sets that have come out over time that use sand green bricks, will use 1x4 bricks or 1x6s and 1x2s. And of course, if you're trying to recreate this set, by all means, don't feel like you need to go out and buy a bunch of 1x8 sand green bricks. Do what other people have done. But using these rare colors that aren't common at the time really makes these sets appealing to collectors, but also collectors and those who like to build with mocks. Now, this set right here, I've never parted out. I've never separated the pieces into my collection. So all these pieces are original to the Cafe Corner. But you can imagine if you bought one, or even if you bought multiple copies of Modular, in particular the Green Grocer, you have a lot of sand green bricks to work on and to work with, and really kind of aid your collection as you try to build similar style buildings. right, we are at step 29 and we've added the cat. But more importantly that, I want to show you a couple things that really stand out to me as we build this. The first is the curtains that we have here in dark red really pops against the sand green. So as you're building it, you can kind of see that contrast, as well as with the yellow 1x1 round plates. The fireplace is taking shape, but what I really want to focus on here is again the use of plates that Jamie Berard uses to add structural support, but also to help keep a motif or a theme going. In this case, we have this tan stripe that goes along the middle of the second level, and it carries all the way across the entire build. That means using plates in some areas, bricks in others, including plates back here for the fire escape, and right here at this juncture where we have this brick circle theme running here. So using plates allows him to carry that through. He carries it through the bay window as well using hinges. Again, very high attention to detail there. We've built the fire escape, we've added onto it, and you can see the use of the pieces here is just incredible. We've got the railing that is continuous, even though it's using different kinds of pieces, including this gun right here and the long bar right there to the bar here, and goes all the way up. I think very effectively done, and looks great even as you look at in detail all the different types of pieces he uses to accomplish that. All right, we finished the second level here, and we have some really cool things to talk about. We have the front of the building, which I really like these windows right here. Now, I remember reading an interview with Jamie Berard, and I think he posted some pictures of some iterations of the Green Grocer. And so they went through a couple iterations to try to get these windows the right way, but the detail on them is really fantastic. The tan, I think, really makes the sand green pop. As I said earlier, it's drab by itself, but you add in the tan and it adds this life to it. And then you have this detail over the windows here, which I think is really nice. The other thing I want to mention as we wrap this up on this level is the bay window. You have a couple of things worth noting. First is we have the taller windows on the bottom, the shorter windows on top. I think that helps a lot to make the window look better. You also have this nice recurring gray line theme throughout, so at the bottom, a couple different layers, and then one at the top. The other thing I want to mention is that you have these 2x3 windows right here that are not the same windows you would use today if you were building the set. This was, in 2008, a time of transition as LEGO was moving from one type of window to the next, and these 2x3 windows were brought into place here, but not with the glass fronts that we have to this day. So there's a little bit of a variation as we move through the modulars from year 1, 2, and then to year 3 with the fire brigade. On the back, I want to point out the nice windows that they have here. It's simple, it's straightforward, but you have them staggered, and I think that looks really nice as you go up the stairs. In fact, it aligns really nicely with the stairs on the inside. So another little bit of detail, and then you have this window in the back here. Very clean looking back, which is very uncommon for a lot of modulars. The only thing that might be a little unsightly is this antenna that sticks out here as a rest for this fire escape. So it's not really all that bad on the exterior compared to some other modulars. So again, good attention to detail right there. The last thing I'll mention is really the sparse interior. As I mentioned in the first level, the budget for the interior was kind of blown on that first level, so we only have the fireplace and the railing really as interiors to this level, and it's unfortunate. I think if we were having a modular release today, you probably have some furniture. You definitely have something sitting in the bay window area that would allow them to kind of have a little table with some flowers, and you can incorporate that space. You probably have some sort of a couch in front of the fireplace with a rug, and maybe something over here on the wall, perhaps a TV, and maybe a couch or something separating this interior here. But overall, it's really nicely done, and one of the best looking second levels of any modular out there. Alright, we are about 15 steps here on the last level, and just wanted to point out a couple of things as we get going. The first is that, we built that second level, and now that we're on to the third, the set designer did a nice job of changing things up. So we've got this detail here on the very bottom that alternates between an inverted slope 1x2 and then a circle. And this is something that's very reminiscent of what would happen on the top, the roof of the Grand Emporium. We also can see that we've got the bay window continuing here as it juts out, similar to what we have on the second level, and we're going to continue up there. But we're getting prepared to do some different building techniques here on the third level. I also want to point out the rug that we have here on this carpet, or on this level here. It's a really nice pattern. It's muted, very earth tone. But uses a couple of those 2x2 dark tan tiles, as well as some reddish brown, tan, and dark blay. And then we have what's beginning to be a clock over here. And this is, I think, going to be really fun. I love the technique that we have using this paddle piece put into a 1x2 Technic brick, but using these log bricks in dark gray to let the handle of the paddle reside. So that was really effective and a nice attention to detail. We're going to continue to build this level, and you're going to see how it really is different from the other ones, which is an element of course, what makes modular sets stand out from many of the other LEGO sets, and in particular, some modulars stand out from the rest. Through 27 steps, I just wanted to highlight the profile that we have here at the front with the gabled roofing. It looks really, really good, and the different windows. Again, changing things up from the second level to the third level is important as we get a fresh build. And what I think makes LEGO sets great is when you can give a unique building experience across all different parts of it. We have finished up the clock here, which I think looks fantastic. We have the completion of the fire escape over here, which uses another one of these long kind of harpoon gun pieces right here that will connect to the second level fire escape, as well as this window right here. Again, we have this tan line that runs through, and again, you'll notice that we have the use of plates in this corner here that really helps to keep that thin tan line going. It goes all the way around the level, which is really well done, and continues through the bay window here. So similar themes as what we've seen in the second level, with a little bit of uniqueness over here, and just the attention to detail is continuing to be very high. Alright, we've finished the third level. Now we just have the roof left, but the big thing that we've done since then is adding some of these roof tops and dormers here, and we've finished up this bay window. And check out this little roofing detail at the top. It is fantastic, using hinges and these angle plates. Really, really well done, creative, and looks really good. We have different windows here at the top, similar or dissimilar to the second level, which adds a little bit of complexity, a little bit of change to things. And the nice thing about this really strong building technique is at the top of these windows, these arched windows, instead of the typical arch that we have on top, we have a hinge plate that connects, which locks them into place and still provides the structure and the support for this bay window. So that's really, really well done. I'm really excited to build the last part of the set, which is the roof. And so we'll go over that in just a little bit. So I finished up the very top part, the roof, and there are a couple things that I wanted to highlight. The first is that on the back side, you've got this balcony that looks out over the cityscape or the back alley or whatever it might be, but it's got a grill on it. It's got these chairs, this umbrella, flowers, little details that really, I think, make the set pop. The awkward part of it, of course, is this door, which is taller than the rest of the roof. So the set designer had to provide some slopes in here to try to balance that off. That's one awkward thing, that maybe if you had a 5 stud tall door instead of a 6 stud tall door. On the front though, we've got this really cool technique that I wanted to mention. It's skeleton legs up at the top with hammers going in this direction here, this direction, and this direction to provide some detail. And it's one of the first times I recall seeing piece usage that was just incredible. Like, I never would have thought of that. I mean, there are other really nice piece usage in other sets, but it just blew my mind when I saw that for the first time. I also want to point out the nice sloped roof here. It really looks good when you combine it with the other parts of the set. And this part, again, we're accounting for the dormers that are on the top of the second level, those gray roofs that come up there. And again, it really kind of pops when you got the gray versus the black instead of just all black. One thing that you'll notice is if you build with Lego and you use a lot of black, it can really wash out and be hard to figure out or see what's going on and see all the details. So having that gray roof that we're going to see when this is attached really helps with the texture and the perspective. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to combine all the elements of the set, and then we'll talk about the whole thing. So here is the whole set put together, and I think it's gorgeous when you look at the whole thing, and it looks even better when you plug it into the modular streets you might already have. But just to give you a scope of the size of it, it's pretty large. It's very, very tall. One of the taller modulars, in fact, when you consider just substance of it without having any extra towers on it. You really can get a sense and appreciate the repeated motif of the brick in the circle going up the left, right, and even part of the middle here. And you can see just how nice the gray roof here pops against the black, especially as it matches up with the gray on that roof right there for the bay window. Looking at the back of it, you can tell that it's actually a pretty clean back. In fact, in terms of modular buildings, this one is really clean, looks sleek all the way around. You've got the tan stripe that goes all the way around both sides, or all sides of the building on the second and third levels. And there really aren't a lot of random plates and modified bricks of different colors, which makes this an attractive modular in 360 degrees. The last thing I'll say about this modular is that it clearly is a classic in the sense of the resale value on Bricklink. There's a reason why it has a 4.6 rating on Brickset, and all these little details do that. Especially the rarity of the bricks, the 1x8 bricks we talked about earlier, but I also want to mention that these 1x2 profile bricks, or these 1x2 bricks modified with a groove, they also retail for about $5 a piece on Bricklink. There's over 50 of them in there, so you're talking about hundreds of dollars, close to $300 just in 1x2 bricks, 1x2 modified bricks for this in sand green, another $250 in 1x8 sand green bricks, so you can get a sense for just how expensive this set would be if you wanted to try to piece it together now. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people, if you go on Eurobricks or if you Google search images, you'll see people that will build this using alternate colors. Sand blue, for instance, might be a common color, and other, white or tan or some other colors like that. So trying to find ways to make the look of the building there, even if it's not the same color scheme. Well, that does it for this episode of What Makes This Lego Set Great. I hope you enjoyed taking a deep dive into the Green Grocer. Check back next time when we do What Makes This Set Great.